Project 2 Task 2 is where you're going to observe the evidence provided by Billy, Joanne and Jack. Your role in this is to document that evidence that you are seeing and observing so that the assessor can read your notes and it helps them to make a final judgment of competency. Your note-taking is critical to this process, and an understanding that your assessor requires the detail in those notes to make that judgment is quite important. In this instance, you will be observing Billy, Joanne and Jack. Billy and Joanne have actually submitted a video evidence of them performing the task and also answering those knowledge questions. Jack, on the other hand, has actually submitted written evidence of his knowledge questions for you to observe. You will need to use the marking guide to help you to identify whether Billy, Joanne and Jack have answered the knowledge-based questions accurately. All right, so let's go through and have a look at the documents that you're going to have to fill in with your observer notes and recommendations for Sam Davies, the assessor. You must remember that you do have to upload and complete all evidence for both Billy, Joanne and Jack to be deemed competent in this assessment. All right, so if we have a look at the document, so Sam has actually provided you with these documents that you've got to fill in, the assessment instruments. Each are the same for Billy and Joanne. Jack's is a little bit different because he submitted written evidence for those knowledge questions. So if we just go through and have a look at just Billy's, it'll give you an idea of what the documentation's about and what we are expecting from you to fill it in. Remembering you're going to be watching a video of Billy performing the tasks. So the observer name is yourself. We've already put the assessor name in based on the case study, that's Sam. And you can put the date that you undertook the observation. The unit of competency that he's being assessed in or observed in for undertaking your role is unit code and unit name MEM 11011, undertake manual handling. He has already been pre-briefed and has agreed to be assessed. So we can fill in any reasonable adjustments and put that he had agreed to be assessed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have submitted that video. So just remember, if there is a reasonable adjustment made, we do need to document that. You'll see for the knowledge assessment task, there's instructions for Billy and there are instructions for you as the observer. You'll see that we have a range of questions here. I think there's a total of 6. And you'll see in the video, somebody is asking Billy these questions, but we've got no evidence of what his response is. So where it says participant answer, this is where you will summarise his answer. Sam's going to need to see how he responded so that he can make a final determination of competency. So in this case, you would summarise what Billy's answer was on the video that you've seen and determine whether or not, based on looking at the marking guide, whether you would consider that as a satisfactory or a not yet satisfactory response. You would then continue to go through each of the questions. As I said, there's a total of 6, writing in what Billy has said and determining whether you feel, based on the marking guide, that's a satisfactory or a not yet satisfactory response. At the bottom of the document here, you'll put feedback to the assessor. This is where the observer must summarise the responses to justifier S or NYS. Now remember, going back and looking at the instructions, it did state that the candidate needed to answer all questions correctly for a satisfactory response. So you need to follow that. If you, say for instance, felt that Billy's responses led to a NYS, not yet satisfactory outcome, then it's good practice for you to summarise what you would recommend to Sam needs to happen with Billy. Does he need to go back to be reassessed? Does he need to go back to be retrained? Does he need full reassessment or only a partial reassessment just on those questions that he maybe got incorrect? And finally, you'll actually sign off with your signature and date. You'll see that there are also performance assessment tasks, and in this case, Billy's going to do 2 trolley lifts in some way, shape or form. We can see that there's a scenario that Billy's been given, and in the video that Billy submits, you'll actually see him perform these 2 trolley lifts. And your job as the observer is to document what you have actually seen him do. So, did you see him review and identify job requirements from a work instruction and signage? And we don't just do a tick and flick. Tick and flick doesn't mean anything today. What we do need to do is to put that he slowly took his time to read the job requirements, that he asked questions. If we put a tick in the second box there with regards to use appropriate PPE, Sam wants to know what kinds of PPE he did wear. So that last column is really important, that you get in the habit of putting some observer notes in there that helps Sam to realise whether or not and make a judgment as to Billy's competency at the end of this assessment. If we just do a tick and flick, anyone could do that. So it's about you observing how the participant undertook the task. Did they do it confidently? Did they do it with hesitation? Did they perform the task out of order? Did they follow the instruction perfectly? Were they confident? Were they lacking confidence? These are all some of the things that you could write. What piece of equipment did they use? Where was it undertaken? Was it inside? Was it outside? And what were the conditions like? So there's a lot of things that we can write there as observer notes that actually help tell the assessor or lead the assessor to identify whether or not they should be making a judgment of competency or not yet competent. And again, at the end of that, you're going to put some comments as to what you recommend to Sam Billy should do. Now, as I said before, there's 2 trolley lifts, so we're going to have to watch him do it once, and then in the video, hopefully he will have done it the second time as well. So you'll need to go through and fill all of this out again based on the second observation that you've seen in the video. And again, filling out at the end what your recommendations are for Sam in making a judgment of competency or not yet competent. You'll find then the document is there for Joanne, and you'll need to go through and fill that in. The same for Joanne. Listen to her answers, document them. Give feedback about her knowledge assessment to Sam. Then you'll need to observe her do those 2 trolley lifts, being careful to put good assessor comments there that'll actually help Sam to make a judgment. So we're coming to the end of Joanne's there, and now we've got Jack's. Now Jack's is a little bit different because he hasn't submitted video evidence and he hasn't done the 2 trolley lifts. So you're actually only assessing him on his knowledge assessment. And you can see he submitted that in writing. The answers are already there. So what you need to do in this instance is go back and have a look at the marking guide. Are his responses accurate? Are they satisfactory or not yet satisfactory? And again, provide a summary to Sam to make a final judgment. Just remember your job role here is that you are the observer. Hope you found these tips really useful. We look forward to receiving your completed submission.